I'm Angela Butler, National President. I'll be chairing this. In a minute, I'm going to hand over to Patrick, who's going to address us. If you have any questions, if you put them in the Q&A box, that'll be brilliant. And we will try to leave some time at the end for me to put those to Patrick. But if you don't, if we don't have time for that, we will capture them and we will then use them to facilitate our frequently asked questions item on the website. So please, any questions, no matter what you may well be thinking of some as we go along today. This afternoon. So please put them in that Q&A box, and I'll be looking at that, and I will endeavour to put as many as possible to Patrick before the end of this webinar, which is going to finish at past, or we'll answer them later on. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our esteemed General Secretary, Dr. Patrick Roach, who's going to talk to us about a better deal for teachers. Over to you then, Patrick.
Well, thanks very much, Angela, and good evening, everyone. I'm really pleased that you've been able to join us. I know that you'll have had a very busy day today, no doubt in a very busy week. But there really is no more important time for us to be talking about the issues that we're gathering to talk about today, and no more important time as well for us to be stepping up our demands for a better deal for teachers. And I want to start by thanking you all for showing your leadership on behalf of our members to win that better deal for our members on teachers' pay. You know, after 12 years of pay cuts, pay freezes and below inflation pay awards, and after a paltry 5% pay offer for the generality of teachers, another pay cut for teachers, let's be clear about that. We've said that we won't stand by whilst our members continue to struggle financially, taking second and third jobs, using food banks, losing their homes, or using up their savings to pay their monthly bills. We won't stand by, colleagues, whilst governments and employers allow the crisis in teacher recruitment and retention to deteriorate even further. I mean, you know some of the facts, colleagues, perhaps better than I do. Nearly 3 in 4 teachers say that they've seriously considered quitting the job, more than half of them saying that pay is the main reason. And members have also been clear with us that the current pay award proposals of 5% for the majority are unfair and unacceptable, and as a consequence, we've rejected them. Over the summer, we've been pressing for ministers to recognise the seriousness of the situation. We've asked them to get around the table with us to address teachers' anger and to avert the risk of future industrial action. We've said that governments and employers need to show that they're serious about the deepening crisis in teacher morale, as well as recruitment and retention, to stop taking the profession for granted. But I have to tell you that ministers are hoping beyond hope that teachers' anger will blow over and that they'll be able to move on to other things soon. Well, colleagues, I'm here to say that they're deluding themselves. You know, the latest pay proposals from government and employers are an insult to the teaching profession, and the continuing delays and denials from government and employers are simply rubbing salt into the wounds. Our members are right to be angry, and we have to respond to that. So today, we've issued pre-action letters to ministers in England, in Scotland, and in Wales, and to all employers. Today, we've confirmed that we are now in an official dispute. And we've also been clear that industrial action will be the fault of governments and employers who believe that it's okay for our members to continue to suffer detriment to your pay and living standards. Colleagues, declaring our dispute is an important next step on the road to securing a better deal for our members. But I know it's a step that we should not take lightly. We know that our members just want the support, the rewards, the recognition that they deserve which enable them to get on with the job. Voting for industrial action is the last thing that members want, but we've been left with no other choice. We either fight for the profession that we love, or we will see more and more teachers, beginning teachers, experienced teachers, teachers across all age groups and backgrounds forced out of the profession. But colleagues, with the actions that you're taking with our members, we are now on course to deliver a formal statutory ballot of our members, the only ballot that will make government and employers sit up and take note. So more than ever, we need the support of all of you colleagues, all of our reps, to help turn our members' anger into action. And the first action that really matters is to deliver an overwhelming vote for a better deal for teachers. Now, you know, the government's going to claim that industrial action won't change anything and that it will damage children's education. But the facts are that it's the government's own actions that are damaging education as more and more teachers and head teachers leave the profession. And with the impacts expected following last week's mini budget and the prospect of yet more real terms cuts, we cannot stand by when the government threatens to further downgrade your pay and conditions. This has to be a wake-up call for all of our members. If members want a real terms pay rise, then they need to vote for it. If members are struggling to make ends meet, if they don't want to see a return to pay freezes and pay austerity, then they need to vote. Teachers didn't create this cost of living crisis, and our members shouldn't be left to pay the price for it. And let's also be clear, a strong vote in this ballot will send a strong message to the government that our members are deadly serious. I believe industrial action does make a difference. We know from experience that when disputes are declared, things change. Employers and ministers will be more likely to come to the table, to enter into talks and to find a resolution. And I know that's what our members want. But we have to be prepared for further intransigence from government. And we have to make sure that we are ready to act if we need to. So we are on course because of the work that you're doing in your workplaces and local associations. We are on course to begin our statutory ballot before the end of October. Your National Action Committee is going to be setting out the full timetable for that ballot very soon. So to recap, to be clear, we are in a dispute over teachers' pay. That's a dispute that's taking place as a result of the cumulative impact of more than a decade of cuts to teachers' pay, and during the worst cost of living crisis for more than 40 years. Responding to those issues has got to be our priority. So when we ballot, what will we be doing? Well, we're going to be asking members to vote yes, yes, for strike action and for action short of strike action. Two questions that will enable us to use all the tools in our armory to exert the maximum pressure on the government. It will mean that we can sustain members' action for longer. If and when we ask members to take strike action, that will be considered very carefully. But as teachers are working harder and harder, longer and longer than ever, and being paid less and less each year, by asking our members to also support action short of strike action, working to rule, working to contract, our members will be able to demand that the government steps up and values the profession every single day of our action. And of course, colleagues, all decisions that will be taken about that industrial action will be taken by your National Action Committee, by members, serving teachers, demonstrating once again why we are a union that is proud to be led by teachers for teachers. And colleagues, your efforts on the ground in winning support for our ballot are making a huge difference. From your meetings with members across the country, we're getting fantastic feedback and support. We need more of what you're already doing. And we're going to be developing more and more resources to support you when you're leading members' meetings and answering their questions. We've developed video and social media materials to support you in setting out the facts to members, and as we seek to maintain the support of the public for teachers. I'm grateful to you for organising in-person and online meetings to ensure that we meet our aim of speaking to every member over the coming weeks before ballot papers land on doormats. Please, colleagues, keep that going. We'll only win this campaign by engaging directly with members, making the case, answering their questions, winning their support. We also have to make sure we do the basics as well, colleagues, ensuring that every member tells us about any changes in their personal details, their workplace or home address changes, because we want to ensure that every member who's eligible has the opportunity to vote. And colleagues, do remember that we are now engaged in an official trade dispute. So we've all got to be really disciplined. What you say and what you do is really important, and it's going to be looked at very carefully. So let's not give employers or the government the opportunity to challenge us or to claim that we are no longer engaged in an official lawful trade dispute. Whether that's because a local association has signed up to a local political campaign or signed off on a pay award package with an employer that perhaps is better than what the government is offering, but isn't consistent with our national demands. We can't do it, colleagues. And also remember that our dispute is our dispute, the NASUWT's dispute, no one else's. And whilst we might have a lot in common with other unions, and whilst we might agree nationally to coordinate what we do with what others do, ultimately, we're answerable for the decisions that we make and for the actions that we take in our dispute. So focus on what we're doing, no matter what other unions or other organisations might or might not do. And please do use the materials that we're providing, colleagues. Follow the advice. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible. Follow the advice from the National Union, repost, like, retweet our social media messages. But if you're in any doubt about any of that, if you're uncertain about how to answer a member's question about our dispute or about our ballot, then seek advice. Ask your national executive member, contact your regional or devolved nations centre, or contact us at headquarters. So I'll finish where I started, colleagues. Thanks again for what you're doing to support and lead this campaign, the most important campaign for a generation. We know why this campaign matters. We know where the blame lies, colleagues. We know that our cause is right, and we know what needs to be done. So over the next few weeks, let's work to spread that same belief and determination to every one of our members, the determination that by standing together, colleagues, we can win. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Patrick. And you know, it's personally made me very proud that you've said today that we have declared the official dispute today. So the 29th of September 2022 is a historic day for us nationally as a union to be doing that. Thank you. We have got quite a number of questions. I'm going to say now we're not going to have time to answer them all, but as I said, we are going to capture them and put them on our frequently asked questions. But I will ask you just a couple of them because I think that they're important. The first one is around asking members now to be taking industrial action when, as you touched upon, it is a very, very difficult time for members to be losing pay. And somebody actually put in the chat that they have been this week sadly having to issue few food vouchers to serving teachers to go to so we're asking people to lose pay at a time when they can ill afford it.
It's a really, really important question, and it's what I hinted at in my remarks. This is already happening to our members. Even without industrial action being taken within schools, colleagues, our members are being forced to use food banks. Our members are going without, and it's not, you know, a small handful of members anymore. This is impacting and affecting many, many of our members. So we need to do everything we possibly can to ensure those members are supported. I mean, firstly, just a big shout out for our benevolence program, that if members are in hardship, if they're experiencing financial difficulty, colleagues, do point them in the direction of our benevolence scheme. You can find details about that on the website. You can speak to your national executive member. You can contact us at headquarters or contact your regional or devolved nation centre, because we as a union are there to help every one of our members. But you know what? Not taking a stand on what's happened to our members over the course of the last 12 years, and in the context of this severe cost of living crisis, won't make the situation for our members any better. In fact, it will make the situation for our members much, much worse. So that's why we have to think about using our, demonstrating our anger by taking that first step of putting those two crosses, those two X's in those two boxes when you get that ballot paper, to say to the government that it's not good enough, that we deserve better as a teaching profession. That is a really important message. And what I said earlier, colleagues, you know, when you vote for that action, governments and employers will sit up and they will listen and they will take note, because they can't ignore you any longer, as they have done for far too long. So now's the time, colleagues, to use our collective voice. Yes, I know that it's going to be a challenge for many of our members to think about doing that, but not doing that, frankly, is simply going to leave the profession to face even worse crises to come, seeing their pay deteriorating year after year after year, driving more and more teachers out of the profession, forcing more and more teachers into financial misery and hardship. We can't let that go on.
Thank you, Patrick. The next one is around working with sister trade unions, and are we doing that? And particularly some confusion around NEU. Are they balloting? Are they surveying members? Do you know, can you update us on what is happening with that union?
Yeah, well, I'll do my best. I don't sit in the NEU's executive. Sometimes I'd like to be a fly on the wall, colleagues, but that is not something that I've been granted as yet. Just to be clear, colleagues, I mean, we've often and quite, you know, regularly, systematically surveyed the opinions of our members. We've tested our members' opinions, which is the reason why we're at the stage that we are at, because we know what our members think. We know our members are opposed to what's happening on pay and they want something done about it, and they're prepared to do something about it. So yes, the NEU has been doing a preliminary ballot. That's what they're calling it. Actually, it's a form of consultation. Actually, it's a form of survey. It's an electronic ballot. As many of you in this call will know, in order for us to run a statutory ballot, we have to follow the legal guidelines and requirements for a statutory ballot. You can't do that on email. You can't do that on an electronic survey. You have to do it by paper. It has to be a ballot paper, an official ballot paper that comes to you at your home address. You have to fill it out. You have to return it, not to the union, but to an independent scrutineer. That's the only ballot that matters. And the NEU has not, as far as I'm aware, declared when they're going to do that ballot. But I'm pretty sure that they will be doing such a ballot, just as we have already committed that we will be doing that ballot. We don't have to wait around for surveys because we know what our members think. Just on the point, are we working with other unions? Well, yes, we are, colleagues. I've made it my priority as General Secretary to do whatever I can and whatever we can to work in concert with our sister unions, not only those unions representing school teachers and head teachers like the NEU, like the NAHT or ASCL, or in Scotland, the EIS, for example, but working with all of our sister unions, for example, unions representing support staff, Unison, GMB, Unite, that we work with those unions, we understand what each union's priorities are in terms of our respective industrial campaigning. We try to work together in a coordinated manner rather than tripping each other up. And we'll continue to do that, colleagues, under the auspices of the TUC, the Wales TUC, the Scottish TUC. We'll continue to do whatever we can to coordinate our actions going forwards. But ultimately, colleagues, ultimately, it's about us and it's about our ballot. It's about our trade dispute, and it's about our members getting rock solid behind our campaign for a better deal.
Thank you for that, Patrick. I'm just going to ask one more question because this is something that is a thread that has come through, which is about why are we just balloting on pay? Why aren't we using, also citing the underfunding of schools and also workload?
Yeah, I mean, workload, we know, is one of those perennial issues for our members. But we also know from tracking member opinion and listening to, you know, what your local secretaries and national executive members are saying week in, week out, month in, month out, that pay is now a major issue for our members. And, you know, if we don't grasp that issue now, we never will. We can't lose sight of that. So it's really important that we focus on the issue that matters, the issue actually that the government can fix. Yeah. Government is responsible for what's happening on teachers' pay. They're either saying this is how much teachers will receive, or they're allowing employers to dictate how much teachers will receive, or they're not providing the funding that's required to deliver a satisfactory real terms pay award for teachers. So it's a problem of the government's own making. It's a problem that the government needs to fix, and that's why we need that national dispute on teachers' pay. It's not to say that issues of workload or bullying, management practice, or poor pupil behaviour are not also issues within schools, and we will address those, colleagues, and we are addressing those issues, colleagues, day in, day out, month in, month out, as we ballot members on an employer by employer basis to address those issues. But let's not get distracted. Let's not get distracted, colleagues. When teachers have lost 25% of the value of their pay over the course of the last decade, when a teacher at the top of the main pay range in England or in Wales is £50,000 worse off than they would have been had their pay kept pace with inflation, let's focus on that. Let's unite around that and say that that is the issue that we want the government to fix, and we're going to hold the government to account if it does not take the steps that are necessary to fix that problem. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we're focusing on teachers' pay.
Thank you, Patrick. We've got 23 questions in the chat. Not time to take them all, but as I said before, we will be capturing those questions and they will be on the frequently asked questions page on our website. This is the start. This is the launch today of our series of webinars that we will be having with you as activists, having with members at large. I know all of the national officers team, national executive, general secretaries team, we will all be supporting you to get this message out to everybody. So this is the start. We're not going to answer everything today. This is the launch. This is, as Patrick said, historic day, because we have actually declared the dispute today with the governments. So that's why we wanted to meet with you to tell you that. The other questions about regarding supply teachers and sixth form colleges and timing of the ballot and all of that is going to be coming out to you through comms over the coming days. So please keep a watch of your emails. Have a watch of the excellent campaigns emails that comes out weekly. I'm sure they'll be more frequent now over the next little while. But the message out there that we all have to do as activists is to make sure that every single member is ready for that ballot to come through and that they vote, because that is absolutely the most important thing, as Patrick said, that members get the ballot, that they return it, that they vote, and that, well, as we're saying, they've got to vote yes to both questions. But thank you all. Diolch o galon for all. So many of you joining at such short notice tonight. Please join us again. There'll be lots of different times for you to ask questions, lots of different times when you'll be able to hear activists speaking. There is a really good stream going on social media about people who are actually teachers who are saying how the cost of living is affecting them. Really grateful to those people who are actually sharing those testimonies. Please, it's we should be sharing that with all our members, getting our discussions in every single staff room that we sit in, every member that we meet. We have to engage in this conversation, in this debate. And our mantra is a better deal for teachers. And that's what NASUWT are absolutely going to be fighting for over the coming few weeks and months. So thank you very much all for joining us today. See you again very shortly. I've no doubt. Thank you very much. NASUWT. Bye-bye.